first of all, I want to send a big shout out to Anne Casper. Anne Casper recently did a live video where she displayed the injuries from inflicted injuries from Havana syndrome, and she listed all the health issues that she had been having as a result of the electronic torture. So shout out to Anne Casper. Um, honestly, it was because of her that I made this video, and she deserves credit for that. And the reason she deserves credit for that is because my mother, after coming out of hospital, after doing so well having come out of hospital, within a few days, she's back in hospital again. I'm not going to say what she's in hospital with, but what I can say is that her right arm is swelling. Now, I've noticed this phenomenon with quite a few people. So first of all, with Ann Casper, her right leg swelling. And then with my partner, with Daryl, one of his limbs is withering away because of the nerve damage done to that particular arm. And now there's a situation where my mum's right arm is swelling up. Usually with Havana syndrome injuries, you get at least one part of the body that starts swelling over another part of the body. And I explained in a previous post of mine on Facebook that when we are usually fired with electronic weapons, we're fired on our left side because that's where the heart is. Presumably the reason why the right starts swelling is because either the right is overworked on top of the electronic weaponry, or, you know, they just fire on the right to, you know, just to get the swelling going. So it's very, very likely that as soon as my mother came out of hospital, that she had the electronic weapons fired on her. And usually this is done like around the same time that I've had a long period of staying indoors. That's when it usually happens. And on top of that, even before any of that happened, when I was a kid, I just found out from my dad that when I was a kid, after I was born, my mum got to spend one day with me before she ended up back in hospital. And it's a periodic thing where as soon as my mum comes out of hospital, she has to go back in again because of a sickle cell crisis. Only now I'm starting to understand, and I've been understanding for years, that what my mother has been going through is not sickle cell crisis, it's Havana syndrome. There is no reason in hell why anybody of any illness should be going into hospital, you know, coming out of it doing just fine, and then going back in days later with something even worse. There is no way that my mum should be in this much pain after she's just been in hospital to be treated and then coming out again. There's no way in hell that should be happening. So given that my eyes have been tired, like my eyes have been doing a lot of this, that's also a classic symptom of Havana syndrome. Given my eyes have been doing a lot of that, given that I've had pain in my jaw, and not even just as an adult, but as a child as well, given that I've had pain in my kidneys, pain in my back, given that I've been fired directly into my eye with the laser at one point, this eye right here, given everything that I have experienced in my life, now I understand. And I've been saying this for years, but it's only like now sinking in emotionally that my mother has basically been tortured and murdered for decades. I don't even know how long this started from, but you know, I knew my targeting was intergenerational, but my mum has been targeted for the longest fucking time. And it's, you know, and I've been saying it for years, but it's only just now that it's sinking in that they've literally been murdering my mother. So what I'm having a hard time with is being able to tell this to my family, because again, my family don't believe in gang stalking. They weren't even open to the idea when it came to me. So they're not exactly going to be open to the idea when it comes to mum, is it? When they find out that not only has mum been attacked or mum been tortured for decades now. Not only, before she even found out about the radiation shit, before she even found out about the nutritional shit, she'd been tortured for decades. Imagine finding out that mum had been tortured for decades, and then on top of that, some members in the family might be involved in handling her. I mean, that doesn't bear thinking about. That doesn't bear thinking about. It means everybody's relationships with one another would have to be questioned. So how do I tell the same family that wasn't even willing to accept that I was going through harassment, that not only have I been going through electronic harassment, but that my mum's been going through it too? And one of my relatives on my dad's side of family have been going through it too? And God knows how many relatives in our family have been going through it. Also, what one person in the family can succeed in life? How do I tell anybody this? How do I tell my family this? How do I tell my relatives this? So yes, my mum has been admitted to hospital. She's got pain in both her knees, just like I had pain in both my hips when those motherfuckers were firing weapons at me. My mum's got swelling in her right arm, just like Anne Caspar has swelling in her right leg. And, my partner has fucking nerves dying off in one of his arms. All of this is Havana syndrome. All of it. All of it. And I think it would be an insult to my mother if I kept this to myself. Because when all is said and done, when I told her about this Havana syndrome shit, she was one of the few people who believed me. It's not a coincidence that she ends up being the sickest out of everybody. That's not coincidence. It was designed like that. Anybody who saw through what was going on would be the first to go. Anybody who saw the truth, who got too close to the truth, were usually the first to be ostracized and were usually the first to go. Now I'm starting to side-eye everything that happened to my gran as well, even though I don't think my gran was a Havana syndrome victim or TI. But now I'm giving everybody associated with my grandma on my mum's side the side eye as well, because she used to see the truth behind everything. And even though she lived to a ripe old age, now I'm giving everybody the side eye that had anything to do with her. Because now I got questions. Because she wasn't accepted by the church for her ability with foresight. She was a staunch Christian, devout. But now I got questions. Now I got questions. Do you understand what I'm saying? So I'm definitely thinking that mum was a TI. Because if I'm not being funny, right? For my mum to go into hospital a day after I was born, there is no fucking way that I wasn't a target from then and that my mum wasn't a target from them. There is no way. So they've been murdering my family, murdering my bloodline. And what have I done about it? Sitting and ranting online about a bunch of piss ants who don't matter. That's what I've been doing while my family has been fucking murdered left and right. And it always happens, this type of shit, it always seems to be timed for when I've been in the flat for too long or if I've been in the house for too long. Usually so fucking pissant perps living close to me can regroup and start to cook up another harebrained scheme. And I will be damned if there are people in my mum's neighborhood who are not using these weapons on her. I will be damned if that's not the case. Because when I went to her place, at one point, the amount of bombardment was strong as fuck. The same thing happened when I was at my paternal grandma's house for Christmas at one point. The bombardment with electronic weaponry was high as shit. The amount of people in my family with heart attacks and strokes, I should have known that shit wasn't organic. But no, there's no way in hell I'm about to let anybody do this to my family and think I ain't going to say nothing. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I say the perps involved in this gangstalking shit, they're involved in human trafficking and murder. When I say that gangstalkers are murderers, I'm not talking out of my fucking ass. I'm talking out of the wounds that have been left by electronic weapons. Lockheed won't even confirm or deny that they're experimenting on human test subjects, which means they're definitely doing that. And if they're not using these government lists in order to do it, then I'm a monkey's fucking uncle. But yeah, I'm not allowing this shit. I'm not allowing this shit. At the end of the day, right, something has got to be done. And then, you know, there's Stop the War as well. Stop the War. They don't seem to understand how deep this shit goes. If MI5 have been following black families since the 60s, put it all together. You've got MI5 who have been following black families since the 60s. And then you've got experimentation into weaponry, which doesn't just include experimentation on other technology. It involves experimentation on personnel, right? Put it all together. Put it all together. And all these different organizations that are involved, they're just used to detract from the situation so that the paperwork gets lost. We all know what the fuck is happening. And we all know who's doing it. Again, it's not just black people that are TIs. But if you really think about it, if you've got black families on fucking watch lists since they came into this country, there is no way in hell that that wasn't exploited for fucking experimentation. There's no way that it wasn't. So yeah, my mum's in hospital again. I'm not going to say what she's in hospital with, but she's in hospital again. Like after a few days of being out. And she was perfectly okay when she was out. This is deliberate. It's deliberate electronic torture. I've been in my flat too long that I have to do something to even out the playing field. That's what I'm saying. Gang stalkers are murderers. They're no fucking good. And there are TIs, there is some of you TIs, you try to warn me because I said, you know what, I feel sorry for some of them. I feel bad for some of them. They're like, no, some of you are like, no, you don't. No, don't you feel bad for those people? Don't you dare. And you were right. You were right. You were absolutely 100% right. So I'm in here in New Moon. I'm doing my little thing. You know, I'm not going to say too much about what I'm doing, but yeah, I'm doing my little thing here for New Moon. You know, so when I say that perps are murderers, and what makes it difficult for me is that the murderers are not just people that will outwardly, you know, insult me or that would outwardly harass me. They're not the only people who are murdering me. There are people who are murdering me who are friendly to me, who respect me, who show me respect anyway. It's not just the people who are calling me out my name that are responsible for the murder of my family. It's not just them. It's just that they're easier targets. Just like they picked me for an easier target, I picked them for an easier target for coming after me. But rest assured, I know that there are some motherfuckers involved in my trafficking that are just playing the long game at this point. And involved in my fucking murder and my family's murder that are playing the long game. So if anybody asks them any questions, they got their asses covered because they were kind to me. But yeah, I feel like the best way to do justice to mum is not just to go see her on Wednesday, which is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to go down on Wednesday and see her. But I think it's not just that needs to be done. I felt like I needed to make this video and address where her wounds and where her injuries were coming from. It's not organic. It's not coming from her sickle cell. It's not coming from her fucking diet. It's not coming from anything like that. It's coming directly from electronic torture. And the older one gets, is the worse the torture is inflicted, because older people are vulnerable. And a lot of older people are immune compromised. So if they die, nobody's going to ask questions. If there are older people with Havana syndrome, no one's going to ask questions. That's why what's happening to mum is happening. And on top of that, the doctor said that, because mum's conscious right now. She's conscious and she's, she's still with it. But the doctor said if she gets worse, or if it gets to a point where she's comatose, then they're not going to resuscitate her. So essentially, the people who have been firing electronic weapons on my mother for decades, they essentially murdered her. And my family stood back and watched, even when I tried to warn them of what was going on, and even when my mum believed me about what was going on, or at least she acted like she did. Because even before I started talking about the Havana syndrome, my mum was talking about radiation. You see, the thing is, Havana syndrome, or let's be fucking frank, electronic torture with various laser and sonar weaponry, it debilitates you. It renders you disabled, technically. So what ends up happening is that when you're debilitated, you have all this technology around you, because, you need a little bit of company, you need something to do, you need something to occupy your time. So you're surrounded by all this tech. And then because the tech has deadly frequencies of its own, because remember, the current frequencies that are used for our technology are two of the deadliest frequencies on the planet. So you've got that swimming around in your system as well. Like without electronic technology, you've got that. And then because your house is souped up and you're souped up, you become an even easier target for these weapons to come back around. So electronic torture sets off this vicious cycle where you're too debilitated to get out of bed, but then you can't even function. You can't congregate with other TIs. You can't do anything without the internet. So you're debilitated and you're reliant on the same technology that's fucking killing you. And it's not just being done to TIs either. It's being done to the rest of the population as well. TIs are a testing ground. TIs are a testing ground. And then on top of that, with the medications, I'm not going to go there. I'm not going to go there with the medications. But you all know what's going on. I don't need to say it. So when I say these gang stalkers are torturers, murderers, and no good, fucking Nazi cunts, I am telling you the truth. They have been reinforcing racism, reinforcing tribalism, reinforcing totalitarianism. All of them, all these perps have been doing that. I don't care what the reason is. They've all been doing it. They've all been involved. And they've all been involved in people's murders. I don't care what they think their reasons are. I don't give a fuck. I really don't give a fuck, because I guarantee the reasons they're gonna come up with are absolute shit anyway. So everyone involved in my gang stalking, everybody that I've mentioned that are involved in my gang stalking, have been involved in my murder and my family's murder by proxy. And mental health have been facilitating this torture and this mass genocide. And now, the rest of the NHS is facilitating it too, because they've got do not resuscitate with people of a certain age. So yeah, that's it. I'm gonna go. Shout out to anybody who's joined me. I'm gonna upload this on my other YouTube. I'm not gonna upload it on my main one because this might get flagged down. These murdering perp cunts, they like to report stuff so that you can't speak out, or they think you can't speak out, so that nobody knows about their crimes or nobody knows what they're about to do. But yeah, I will post Anne Caspar's link. If she'll allow me to post her video, then I could do that, but I'll just post her link for now in the description so you guys can see it. My fellow TRs, I love you. Thank you so much for being with me. And yeah, however bad we thought it was, it's so much worse than that. It's so much worse than that. Even when you don't know you're a TI and you don't say anything about it, you're still punished. What kind of world is this? Where people are punished for speaking the truth and doing the right thing. I gotta go. Take care, you guys. Bye.